And I'll do a short video showing how to make up the main plate section of one of my mini quads. So you start with 2 main plates and 16 of these bolts, these M3 nylon bolts. And this is a little bit fiddly. Easiest way of getting this is to put one of the arms across the centre like that, and put the other plate on top, and then it's just a question of feeding these through like this and putting that in between. Once you've got one through, it can be worth getting one of these nuts on the other side. Just do that up loosely like that, and that will hold it in place. And then as soon as you've got one on, do the opposite one like that, and again you want to get the nut on there. It's not happy, try a different nut. There we go. And that just keeps that in position. And then once you've got those 2 on, you line it up again and you do the opposite corner. Just get those little knots on. And once you've done that, that's the hard part over. Now it gets a bit less fiddly, hopefully. Just do the other bolts now. Not too tricky, but there are quite a few of these to do. Seem to ping away if you're not careful. I will include 1 or 2 spare nuts and bolts in every kit, just so that if you do lose one, it's not a complete disaster, but do try not to lose them, because it would be annoying if you're 1 bolt short or 1 nut short. Duff one. these left to do, and that's the last one. So once you've got all of these bolts in, it gets a bit easier. You can move this like that, and then you can feed the other ones in easily enough. If they just slide about too much, and you can start doing these nuts up now, just a little bit tighter, just to give it a bit of grip so they don't keep falling out. And use this little hex driver. I've got one for the M3 bolts, but not for the M2 nuts. Maybe I should get one for the M2 as well. It does make spinning these up a bit quicker and a bit easier. See if that's any better. You don't want to do them up too tight, or you won't be able to get these in position properly. I'm only using the hex driver because it's quicker. If you don't have one of those, you can always just hold the nut and use a screwdriver on the other side, just whatever you prefer. I wouldn't use any glue or any thread lock anywhere on this frame. You don't need to use it. The plastic that the bolts and the nuts are made of has enough give. As you tighten it up, it will just kind of hold a bit of tension, and that's all you need, is just a little bit of tension on these nuts and these bolts, just to keep everything together. If you overdo it, you will knacker the threads on the plastic. These are the parts that should break if you do have a serious crash. And then the expensive parts, which is the fiberglass and the carbon fibre and all your electronics, should be fine. So I mean, you could replace these with metal bits if you wanted, but I wouldn't recommend it. Just checking they're all a bit loose. Right, so that should be that. Now, to get your cutters, you can just trim these down to the length that you prefer. And these should still work absolutely fine. You can still take the nuts and the bolts off and put them back on again. Let me just check to make sure that's fine. There we go. Now the next stage is a little bit fiddly, but this is the best way of mounting your flight controller. These holes, they have the carbon fibre behind them, so you can't run bolts all the way through. That's just unavoidable. So what I would recommend doing is getting yourself a Stanley knife and cutting 1/2 centimetre off one of these, just like that. And all you need is a tiny dab of super glue just on the end. It hardly needs any at all, you don't need much strength here. Then just turn that in to the base of one of these 1mm spacers, so that you just got 1 or 2 millimeters sticking out, 1.5 millimeters or 1 millimeter sticking out the bottom. You really don't want much protruding at all, just enough to give it a little bit of grip, like that. And once you've done that, you just put a little bit more super glue on, and you put that just resting in the hole, and it should just click. It should just click into place, just like that. Go down nice and flat. And if we just do the rest the same. A bit of super glue. Screw that into there. Just a tiny bit protruding, and then again. Just get that screw in there like that. Just like that. That's the last one. Just like that. And again, you just dab these with a bit of super glue and just clip those into place here. Now you'll notice there are two sets of holes here, the inner ones and the outer ones. The inner ones are particularly suitable for smaller flight controllers, like the simple multi-Wii boards and the Naze 32, and the bigger ones on the outside fit the standard size of flight controller like the KK2, the Creus All-in-One Pro, and most of the others that are square. So you've got a choice which ones you use depending on what flight controller you prefer. It's best to leave those for a few minutes to dry, but I'm going to rush it. These motor mounts, which I will make in a separate video, should just slide onto the end like that, and then get your screwdriver out and tighten up these bolts. And the same with the other three. I won't tighten up the other three in the video because you can work that out for yourself, but you just do the other three the same as that one, and there you have your completed quadcopter. Obviously you'll need to put your speed controllers on. I recommend putting those on the arms and the top so that the airflow from the props will cool those effectively, and your flight controller there, maybe your radio on top of that, and your battery. Oops. underneath. There we have it.